Genesis chapter 41 verse 25. So Pharaoh told Joseph the dream. Joseph showed that only God can give the answer, and now God is going to give the answer, and we see the answer of the dream. We get now as well an interpretation of the dream as is going to play out. Verse 25. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, "The dreams of Pharaoh are one. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he's about to do." Right? So, yeah, just checking. I kind of forget to put the sound on sometimes. Anyhow, so Pharaoh had two dreams, but here immediately Joseph telling him that it's basically the same dream. Right? It's two different dreams, same story, same explanation. And God did this to show Pharaoh what he, who is God, is going to do. Verse 26. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good years are 7 years. The dreams are one. Okay, 7, previous time 3 days, now 7 is the years. Okay, 7 years. 7 good cows, 7 good years, 7 years. See, dreams are one. Verse 27. The 7 lean and ugly cows that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty years blighted by the east wind are also 7 years of famine. Same, 7 years, famine now. Verse 28. It is as I told Pharaoh, God has shown to Pharaoh what he's about to do. Okay, so again, he said earlier, God is the one who gives interpretations, and now God is giving interpretation here. God has showed Pharaoh what he's about to do. As I told you it's going to happen, it happened. God gave the answer. This is what God is going to do. Verse 29, there will come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. But after them there will arise 7 years of famine, and all the land, the plenty will be forgotten in the land of Egypt. The famine will consume the land, and the plenty will be unknown in the land by reason of the famine that will follow, for it will be very severe. Okay, so 7 good years, 7 bad years, and those 7 bad years years of famine is going to be so bad that they will forget about the fact that there were ever 7 good years. Okay, right? We can have 7 years of brilliance, and then 1 second of bad, and we forget the brilliance. But anyhow, when we already blame God for that 1 second of bad, okay. But now in this case, 7 of this, 7 of that, and they're going to forget about it. That's that. This famine will be so severe, very severe. Verse 32. And the doubling of Pharaoh's dream means that the thing is fixed by God, and God will shortly bring it about. Okay, so I've mentioned this as well before, and here Joseph states it as well. The fact that God gave you this dream twice, the same kind of dream, but in 2 different ways, same night, that means it's going to happen. It's fixed by God. God is not changing his plans here. God is not going to change. And furthermore, this is going to happen shortly. Okay, this is not sometime in the future, after your death and your son's time or something. This will happen shortly. That's why you dreamt it twice. And that is why the magicians and the wise men, they could not give an answer. They knew this is something very serious. They were not going to try and answer because they understood the seriousness of this. Verse 33. Now here Joseph is going to give an explanation of what's supposed to do. And if you look at it, we won't see him ever asking, Pharaoh asking for advice. Joseph is just going on, speaking on and giving the advice, most likely in the prompt of God. Okay? Now therefore, let Pharaoh, verse 33, now therefore let Pharaoh select a discerning and wise man and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh proceed to appoint overseers of the land and take 1/5 of the produce of the land of Egypt during the 7 plentiful years. And let them gather all the food of these good years that are coming and store up grain under the authority of Pharaoh for food in cities, and let them keep it. Okay, so what is saying? Pharaoh, you select a discerning and a wise man, set him over the land of Egypt so that he can control all of this and make sure, right, that he is the control of everything. He gets overseers after, so he on top, then people underneath him, and they will then make sure that all in those 7 plentiful years, everything is brought in. Not everything, 1/5 of everything is brought in, so 20%, right? 20% of everything is brought in. okay, because it's a fat year, 7 fat years. There will be too much, okay, and they will store. It's actually very economically very wise as well in a certain sense, because if you have these fat years and you have so much overproduced, then you're going to flood the market with food, and the price of everything will drop. So actually, by keeping it to 20% of it back, actually in that sense as well, they make sure the market is not flooded, and they sort of kind of keep the price as well. And at the same time, but the more important part here is the making sure that when the 17 years come, they have food. Otherwise, they won't have anything. So it's like a double-edged sword here, actually. So they need to gather this, store up under Pharaoh's authority in the cities. So, I mean, it makes sense they're in the cities, because then when the hunger comes, people in cities are the ones who will feel it the fastest, and they need to then to get it first. And as well, when people are going to come from other places to come and buy stuff, then this is where they will come to. They will come to the cities. They're not going to look for it out in the farmland. I mean, even still these days, that's kind of how we do things. Okay. Verse 36, that food shall be a reserve for the land against the 7 years of famine that are to occur in the land of Egypt, so that the land may not perish through the famine. Okay, so here he explains why there's this need for this, so that in the 17 years, these food will serve as a reserve for the people, so that they will have something to eat, so that they won't die in the famine. Okay, this is why. Okay, just a quick side note here, in a certain sense. Remember, Moses, again, writing this on his way out of Egypt. Well, actually, they were already in the wilderness outside Egypt, and way to Canaan. One of his problems that Moses had was that everybody came to him. He was overworked, overstressed, and then his father-in-law came and told him, Moses, you're doing it wrong. You need to appoint overseers. You need to appoint elders here to help you. Okay, so in this case, this is now what Joseph is saying. Okay, Joseph is saying, yes, there's an overseer, and then you need to appoint, the main guy, then you need to appoint other overseers as well. So actually, in a sense, maybe when he told us this is what Joseph said as well, he's telling the people, or justifying then his need for people, elders like that, to help him. Okay, so see the connections that's been drawn here between that story, this story. So like if Joseph said this is how it's supposed to do, then and we know what Joseph did was, here's this wise guy, and then my father-in-law told me kind of this is what. He might not have been able to say, my father-in-law said we need to do this, because his father-in-law was not a Hebrew, right? So they could say, oh, what does he know? So we must not do it like that. So then by saying, but this is kind of what Joseph said, then bringing that, so he is now justifying as well the words of his father-in-law and make it more powerful then, and not saying, so yeah, that as well. I'm pretty sure that played into this whole story and usage of Moses, of this Joseph, and the advice he gave here to Pharaoh later on.